All right. Get ready to dive into some film theory today.
It's all good.
You sent over a ton of interesting excerpts from German film theory texts,
Right.
like Handbuch Filmanalyse
Yeah.
and Handbuch Film Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Big ones.
Yeah.
And we, of course, can't forget James Monaco's film Verstehen.
Of course not.
So this is going to be great. And we're going way beyond just, like, enjoying a movie, right?
Right.
We're trying to understand how films tell stories
Yes.
in ways we don't even realize.
Exactly. You know, it's interesting. We talk about films like they're just windows into a story, but
Yeah,
it's so much more than that, isn't it?
right.
Like every choice, the camera angles, the editing,
Mhm.
all of it shapes how we understand and connect with it emotionally.
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
like one of those magic tricks
Okay.
where you're so caught up in the spectacle,
Yeah.
you never see how they're pulling it off.
Exactly. And that's what Handbuch Filmanalyse really stresses,
Okay.
that even something as simple as a shot
Uh-huh.
is carefully planned out.
Yeah.
The camera angles, the way scenes are edited together,
Right.
the lighting.
Oh, yeah.
These are all tools to shape our experience as viewers.
Lighting is one of those things that I think it's easy to just not really think about, but it totally sets the mood.
Yeah.
Like, think about those old film noirs,
Oh, yeah.
all those dramatic shadows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, that sharp contrast is often called Rembrandt lighting.
Right.
And it wasn't just a stylistic choice.
Right.
Take Double Indemnity, for example. The way that lighting technique is used on Barbara Stanwyck
Uh-huh.
makes her look glamorous, sure, but it also shrouds her motives in a way.
Right.
It visually hints at her dangerous side.
That's such a good point. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah?
But it's true. Wow.
It makes you realize how much thought goes into each
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah, for sure. And Handbook Filmanalyse even mentions that a lot of directors, they rely completely on their cinematographers for the lighting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cinematographers, they're artists in their own right.
Right.
They use light and shadow to create these moods, to guide how we see things. It's a powerful tool.
It is. Speaking of powerful tools,
Yeah.
we got to talk about montage and mise en scène.
Okay.
Now, those sound intimidating.
They are important concepts, but they're not as complicated as they might sound.
Okay.
Montage, as Handbook Filmanalyse explains,
Yeah.
is basically the art of editing.
Okay.
How shots are put together to create a sequence.
Right.
It's like a language.
Yeah.
Where putting two shots together
Yeah.
can make us feel something.
Yeah.
It can mess with our sense of time.
Wow.
Even challenge how we see what's real and what's not.
So, like a fast-paced montage would be more intense, like for an action scene.
Exactly.
And then a slow one would be like
Right.
more thoughtful.
Yes. Now, mise en scène, on the other hand,
Okay.
that's everything within the frame.
Okay.
The set, costumes where the actors are, even the lighting, like we talked about.
Right.
Handbook Filmanalyse points out that some early films didn't even use montage.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
No montage at all. So how did they tell stories?
It was a different time for filmmaking.
Right.
Imagine a camera
Yeah.
just still capturing a whole scene like a play.
Wow.
It wasn't until filmmakers started experimenting with editing with montage
Yeah.
that they realized its potential
Right.
for telling stories in new ways.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate the impact of montage.
It does.
I remember reading in Handbook Filmanalyse about how Hitchcock
Yes.
shot rope to seem like one continuous shot,
Right.
but he actually used these really clever tricks to hide the cuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like using the actors' bodies
Uh-huh.
or pieces of furniture
Oh, wow.
to hide where the cuts are.
So clever.
Yeah.
So even when you're trying to avoid montage, it's still a choice that shapes how the viewer experiences it.
Exactly. It's always there, in a way, even when it's hidden.
I like that. It's like this underlying presence.
Yeah, exactly. The presence or absence of editing, whether it's super obvious or hidden,
Right.
it always makes a difference in how we see a film.
Totally. And then there's color.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we talked about the contrasts of film noir,
Right.
but when color film came around,
Absolutely.
that just opened up this whole other world.
It did. Handbook Filmanalyse actually talks about how that shift to color, it really changed film theory.
Interesting.
Scholars and critics, they had this whole new thing to think about.
Right.
How were directors like Hitchcock and Antonioni using color to tell their stories?
It's amazing how much emotion color can convey.
Oh, it's true. It can set the mood, make certain characters stand out, even give us clues about what's going to happen.
Exactly. Think about how some colors just have those built-in feelings to them.
Yeah, like red is
passion or danger.
Right, exactly.
Blue can be kind of sad or peaceful.
Right, yeah. Okay, wow.
And filmmakers, they tap into that to make us feel a certain way about what we're seeing without us even realizing it.
It makes you want to rewatch all your favorite films.
I know.
Paying attention to the colors this time.
It's true.
And you know what else has a huge impact on how we experience movies?
What's that?
It's sound.
Oh, yes. Sound design. Often overlooked, but so important.
It's true.
The music, the dialogue,
Right.
even silence can completely change a scene. It's true. Think about those jump scares in horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
Get you every time. Or how the music swells up during that first kiss in a romance.
Right. Makes it even more romantic.
Exactly. Or even just those action films where you can feel the explosions because of how they use sound.
You're totally right. Handbook film theory actually goes into how films are using sound design to create this incredibly immersive experience.
Right.
Where the audio is just as important as what you see.
It's all about how it makes you feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about making you feel like you're right there in the action.
Exactly. And it all comes back to how these elements work together.
Right.
The visuals, the editing, the color, the sound.
It all comes together.
To make this like whole experience.
Exactly.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. And that's where the director comes in, right?
Right.
Which leads us to the auteur theory.
Okay.
Which is this idea that the director is like the author of the film.
Yes, exactly.
Shaping it with their vision.
Yes. Auteur theory really took off in the mid-20th century.
Okay.
And it argues that a director's style, their themes, are so strong that you can see them in every part of the film.
So, like, a Hitchcock film is going to feel different from like a Spielberg film.
Exactly.
Because they each have their own style.
And auteur theory, which was really big with French critics.
Okay.
It encouraged people to watch films. Focusing on the director's vision.
Wow.
So they analyzed Hitchcock, John Ford, Howard Hawks. Looking for those recurring themes, stylistic choices.
That made up their artistic voice.
That's so interesting.
It was a way to say that film is art.
Right.
Just like painting or writing.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to think of a director's films as this like collection that shows their style, like an author's books.
Exactly.
And I remember Handbook Film Theory even talked about a film dictionary from the 1950s that was all about Hitchcock, analyzing recurring themes, visuals, all that throughout his movies. Sounds like a cool book.
It's really interesting to see how influential auteur theory has been.
Right.
But it's also important to remember, not everyone agrees with it.
Totally.
Handbook film theory brings up some good criticisms, too.
Yeah, right. Because film is such a collaborative process.
Exactly.
It's not just one person, the director, making all the decisions.
It's true.
There's the writers.
Yes.
The cinematographer, actors, editors, composers. They all have a part in it.
It's like saying that the conductor of an orchestra is the only one responsible for the music.
Right.
When really it's the whole orchestra working together that creates that sound.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And it really shows how complex making a film can be.
Absolutely.
It really makes you think about all the layers, you know?
Yes.
And it reminds me that there's always more to discover about film.
It's true.
It's not just about what we see on screen, right? It's about how it's all put together and what it makes us feel.
And speaking of how we experience film, our sources also talk about the audience's role.
Oh, right. That's a big part of it.
It is. We can't just analyze films on their own.
Yeah.
We have to think about how viewers are going to see them.
Right.
How people react to them. How our own experiences shape how we see them.
Right.
Like Handbook Film Annals talks about.
Yeah.
How montage, besides telling the story,
yeah,
can change how we experience time and space.
It's so true. Think about slow motion.
Exactly.
It can make a moment seem so much longer.
Yes. Or those jump cuts that can just transport us somewhere else instantly.
Right.
It can be jarring, even disorienting.
Yeah.
But also so effective.
Right.
At keeping us on the edge of our seats.
It's crazy how they can play with our perceptions like that.
I know. It makes you realize how much our experience of a film is shaped by these choices.
Absolutely.
That the filmmaker makes.
Film theory gives us this, framework for understanding how they do it.
Exactly.
It's like they're giving us the tools to break it down, you know?
So decoding the language of film.
Exactly. Yeah. And it helps us appreciate the art of it all even more.
Absolutely. It's about becoming more aware viewers.
Right.
Understanding the how and the why behind what we see. Mm-hmm. And that can really change how much we enjoy movies.
Yeah, for sure. And this actually leads us to another big topic our sources get into.
Okay.
The male gaze.
Yes. That's a huge one.
It is.
Especially now.
Yeah.
And Handbook's Film Analyse goes pretty deep on it.
Right.
Talking about how it's shaped how women have been shown in film for decades.
For sure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And feminist film theory.
Right.
Which is where the male gaze comes from.
Yeah.
It looks at how movies often show the world from a male point of view.
So it's like we're seeing everything through a man's eyes.
Exactly.
Which then affects how women are portrayed.
Exactly.
And how we see them.
It can lead to women being objectified on screen, making them seem like objects instead of people.
And Handbook Film Analyse actually uses Legally Blonde as an example.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. They talk about how it's this fun, lighthearted movie.
Right.
But it plays with those ideas about femininity in really clever ways.
That's a great example of how a movie can be entertaining, but also make you think about important social issues.
It's like film theory is giving us these special glasses that let us see beyond the surface.
Exactly. It's about becoming more aware viewers.
Right, exactly.
Understanding that there's always more to see.
And we've talked about how filmmaking has changed over time.
It has.
From those early films with no montage to all the groundbreaking stuff that came later.
Exactly.
And then there are movements like the French New Wave, which really changed things up.
They did. Handbook Film Analyse talks about how the French New Wave, with its experimental editing and unusual stories, really went against the rules of traditional filmmaking.
Yeah. They were all about breaking the mold.
Exactly. And now we're in the middle of another big change.
Right.
The digital age of film.
Exactly. It's a whole new world.
It is. And Handbook Film Theory even touches on how digital cameras and CGI and all this technology has really changed how films are made.
Right. It's a whole different ballgame now.
It is. And it makes you wonder, how does this affect film theory itself?
That's a great question.
Right. Like, how do we take these theories that were developed back when film was on celluloid and apply them to these new digital films?
That's what film theorists are trying to figure out right now, I bet.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time for film theory.
Wow. It makes you think about how film theory will have to keep changing.
It will.
As film changes.
Exactly.
It's a constant evolution.
It's a conversation that never ends.
It really is amazing to think about how film theory has to adapt to all this new technology and how fast things are changing.
It's true. It's like film theory itself is evolving. Right alongside film.
Exactly. And it just reminds me that film theory, it's not about finding the right answer. It's about understanding and appreciating this art form even more.
It gives us the tools to look deeper.
Right.
To see the artistry, the intention behind every choice a filmmaker makes.
Yeah. And as we've been talking about,
exactly,
those choices,
they really do.
They really affect how we see a film.
They shape our whole experience.
For sure. We've covered so much ground today.
We have, from lighting and
to montage.
Yeah.
The male gaze.
Digital film.
It's been quite a journey.
It has been a deep dive.
We've only just scratched the surface, though.
I know. There's always more to explore.
Exactly.
But for now, it's time for our listeners to take all this and put it into practice.
I love that.
Think about one of your favorite films.
Okay.
One you've seen a million times, right?
Right.
Now imagine watching it again.
Oh, yes.
But this time, you're thinking about one of these concepts.
I like it.
Like, how does understanding mise en scène change how you see a scene?
Right. Or how about thinking about the male gaze?
How does that change how you see a character?
It's amazing how just one idea from film theory can completely change how you see a film.
It's like seeing it with fresh eyes.
Exactly. Film theory gives us the power.
Yes, it does.
To be more active viewers.
Absolutely.
To appreciate all the work and artistry.
It's true.
That goes into these films that we love.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a new favorite film.
That's true.
Or director along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the beauty of it.
This has been great. I always learn so much from these deep dives.
It's been my pleasure. Always happy to talk film.